Welcome to the Drive-By Entrepreneur podcast, which exists to bring current and compelling content to entrepreneurs and influencers of small to mid-sized organizations. I'm John Frank, fellow entrepreneur and the owner of Third Road Management. And with this podcast, we will connect with a variety of experienced and dynamic individuals to shed some light on both the art and science of entrepreneurship. Before we begin, I'd like to thank our sponsors. First, my very own Third Road Management, a company that brings fractional CFO services to small and mid-sized organizations by revolutionizing the CFO suite. We'd also like to thank Two Hound Red, a brewery and restaurant located in Glen Ellen, Illinois, that is focused on creating classic, innovative beer and food. And finally, we'd like to thank NWC Media, which provides inbound marketing technology, project workflow management, and efficiency consulting to organizations of varied sizes, who is also the producer of the Drive-By Entrepreneur podcast. Kevin Collins, welcome to the podcast.
Hey.
Very honored to have you here. So thank you for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is great. All right, so a couple of things. One, I really like to start out every time just by explaining what it is that we're doing here, why it's relevant, who wants to listen in, all that kind of stuff. So our mission statement is that the podcast exists to bring current and compelling content to entrepreneurs and influencers of small to mid-sized organizations, right? So I'd say the preponderance of people that have been on the podcast have been entrepreneurs themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also the people that intersect with entrepreneurs all the time. So like investment bankers or insurance people, or just anybody that sort of like intersects with that world that has interesting things to say. That's kind of what we're trying to cultivate here.
Love it.
So,
yeah.
And you yourself are an entrepreneur, which we are going to go on the journey with you. But you're currently CEO at Secret Walls.
Yep.
Why don't you, I just like to sit back at first.
Sure.
Right. And give you an opportunity to talk about your journey. I know we've known each other for a while, but like I don't think we've ever had this conversation of like kind of what's your career arc look like and how did you get here kind of thing. So I will give you the floor and tell me all about you.
Well, first of all,
go back as far as you want.
All the way back. It's great to be here, man. I love it. And I love what you guys do. I love the stories that you uncover and tell. So it's an honor to sit in the booth across from you. I mean, I'd like to think I'm an entrepreneur. I've met so many amazing people that have started from zero and built businesses. And I was always wildly fascinated, jealous, curious, all of that stuff. My journey goes back. I'm an Elmhurst guy. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. I navigated, the Western burbs for my whole life. I went to college up in Winona, Minnesota, played college hoops up at St. Mary's University. Was always in kind of sport and entertainment world, loved music, love all that stuff. I was an English lit major. I didn't really know which path I was going to go down. I watched Jerry Maguire. I want to be Jerry Maguire. Like maybe I'm going to be a lawyer. Maybe I'm going to be an agent. Like no idea really. And I got an internship in college my junior year at at that point was SFX. That summer it turned into Clear Channel Entertainment, what is now Live Nation. And I worked 35 concerts in one summer as like a 20-year-old.
Wow.
And I was in Tinley Park and I was it was the Tweeter Center at the time, I think. I was up at Alpine Valley the other half of the summer. And I managed brand sponsorships. I did a lot of experiential work. I managed VIP tickets. And I'm 20 years old, turned 21 that summer. And like that summer, I realized what I wanted to do for a living. I loved live experiences. I loved watching people smile, get entertained, all of that, everything that came with it. I get goosebumps talking about it right now.
Yep.
But it was like there was clarity there, and it felt really good. Like trying to figure out what path do you want to go down at certain points in your life, and not knowing, and then just having it unlocked like that was special. So got through college, packed up the bags. I had to get out of the Midwest for a little bit because it was like Elmhurst to Winona. Like I hadn't ever been overseas. I hadn't, traveled a lot, any of that stuff. So I moved to California, worked for Levi's for a couple of years, had a great experience in the kind of a general marketing sales role for the first couple of years of my career, mostly to like get out of my comfort zone and like figure out life as a young kid, how to, put dollars together and pay rent and pay bills and just like try to become an adult outside of the, structure of a, comfort of a family and all that good stuff. So did that for a couple of years, moved back to Chicago, worked for Clear Channel for another couple of years, met my wife during that time, kind of re-fell in love with Chicago and had missed it quite a bit and all that good stuff. While that was happening, the person I interned for in college left Live Nation and started his own experiential agency in New York called MKTG. It was marketing partners at the time. And I had flown myself out on my own dime a couple times to meet Charlie for an interview or to get a job or like, come on, like hire me. I was an intern. Like, let's do this. I packed up my bags, moved to New York without, a confirmed role with him at his new agency, left my now wife back in Chicago to go to grad school and like restarted this new kind of job inside the world of experiential marketing. I got a role with them. It was, maybe 15 employees at the time. And I just like kept calling my shots. Like I was kind of pushing myself outside of very comfortable surroundings into uncomfortable surroundings.
Yep.
And like kind of the ingredients of like that I didn't know at the time really turned into entrepreneurial spirit. Like I just kept getting outside of my comfort zone, like get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I didn't, again, like it wasn't by design. It was just like I kept pushing myself into precarious, uncomfortable situations. Rode the wave in New York a couple of years. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna so in the context of this, I just want to make sure to clarify. When you say experiential marketing,
Yeah.
to somebody that doesn't know what that is, what is that?
Live event marketing. So pop-up retail, flash mobs for some time, like event-based marketing where you're sampling, trial, putting products in the hands of future consumers or existing consumers, meet and greets, all of that stuff. Anything you see at a festival or in the foreground of a concert venue or a night out sampling your favorite whiskey, like all of that in that context is experiential marketing. So you're experiencing the brand real time.
Got it.
So I fell in love with that world of live experiences even more. So, it started as like a concert love and like, oh, these like venues are amazing, kind of shifted into, oh, there's like a whole category of marketing where you can do that over and over again. So I found a home within this agency world that kept growing. And I came back to Chicago now, third time, I guess, at a young age, opened up a Chicago office for MKTG. I was probably, 26, 27 years old, got married during that run. We started a family. And then again, in the spirit of like staying uncomfortable, picked up the family and moved to London in 2011. Really off of like the same mentality of like, I need to keep pushing. Like I was getting comfortable, like things were, start coming a little too easy and you got to keep pushing. And not only that, it was helping the company grow a global footprint, and it was ahead of the 2012 Olympics in London. So it was a great opportunity. I did a ton of work with, Nike and Beats by Dre and Gatorade and the NBA and the NFL and working in kind of sport, culture and entertainment. And, what better place than the Olympics to really cut your teeth in a foreign country. We were new parents. We had a 6-month-old baby at the time, and we just kind of went for it. And then during that time in the UK, I was out with the marketing team from Beats by Dre. And ahead of this, like what ultimately we did with Beats was amazing during the 2012 Olympics. I don't know if you like athletes walking out with headphones.
Yeah.
Like that was our team in the background. We got all the headphones to the athletes. It kind of like broke Rule 40 a little bit. It was amazing. But like what preceded that is that we were out in London looking for culture. Like where do we plug into, how do we get the right community around the brand? This was, before the Apple acquisition of Beats. Like they were still, this growing $3 billion brand, but in its infancy. And during that time, I walked into the Village Underground in Shoreditch in London and was greeted by this like 10-on-10 live paint battle. And I remember like walking into the venue. I mean, there were 20 artists on a stage. There was the global beatbox champ on stage, a DJ, an MC, pyro, an open bar, like a merch table, like in this down the alley to the left venue. I mean, it was like, it stopped me in my tracks. I fell in love with Secret Walls, like in that moment. This is 2011. Met the founder, Terry Guy, in the room. And then the next 10 years, I stayed in the agency world, but I would like moonlight and just like help Terry wherever I could, help Secret Walls, like write operating documents, like bring brand partnerships forward, like you name it. Like there were sort of moments in time where I would just lean in and moonlight, or on the weekends, really support wherever I could. And we had always talked about like, it would be great if, but that if was like, that's a big jump. And, once you're at, a certain point in your career and a holding company, it gets really comfortable. And I was getting to that point where this is pretty good. Like, this is like, we're growing teams. My last stop was at IPG with a wonderful agency called Momentum. And, I was managing the Midwest and some big clients, and it was enjoyable, and kind of like, it was a little on cruise control. The pandemic shows up and all that stuff, and it threw a little bit of a wrench in, but I took a step back from that comfort, and I was like, I think I want to go make the jump out of this like cushy holding company agency world into the world of global street art and, competitive paint battles, and, bring what I'm good at and see how hard it could work in the world of contemporary art. So that's kind of where I am right now. I mean, there's a ton in between there. I got to, tour Dr. Dre through all of Europe and Asia. I got to, be on sidelines for Super Bowls and, soccer matches and rugby matches. And, I've got to watch and be part of some of the biggest campaigns in the world during my agency days. And I couldn't be more thankful for it. And it was an incredibly, it was an incredibly gratifying part of my career. What I get to do right now and wake up and do every day, and talk to an artist on the phone, or help an artist find a new opportunity, or build new IP that, puts different spotlights on the global art scene, is on a whole different level, at a different scale. And I couldn't be luckier to do what I do.
That's awesome. What do you think kind of fosters that sense of curiosity, or just like you said, you find something, and the second it's becoming routine, you're like, I need to do something else. I need a new challenge. Like, what? I'm curious if is it related to your upbringing.
I think it's absolutely, like, I've actually written about this before at my first agency for the Chicago office. And if anyone watches it that was in that office in Chicago when I wrote those shower thoughts, will remember them probably pretty specifically. But at a certain point in college, maybe my sophomore year, like, I was B's and C's. Like, I've never been like the book smarts guy. I'm not saying I'm not intelligent. I'm not, like, none of that sort of like passive, aw shucksy stuff. But I remember sitting down with my dad, grabbing a hot dog summer after my sophomore year. And he's like, that's fine. Like, B's and C's. Like, don't ever assume you're the smartest person in the room and then use that as your superpower. Because I ask a ton of questions. Like, I listen with intent. Like, I'd like to think everyone that knows me would agree with, like, I'm the same person everywhere I go. I remember information about you or your family like an elephant, like it's trapped in there. And I think I learned that early on. And that's become my just like provocative, curious way of going through my career too. And I think that then the more questions you ask, like, just the more opportunities show up. And if you remain obsessively curious and people want to talk to you and like answer those questions, and then you realize, a lot of people like wait to talk. They'll ask a question and then like wait to say what they think needs to get added to the conversation versus like actively listening. And I think that plays a huge role in continuing to kind of push myself into different ways of working, and even where I am right now, of like, what can we be doing different, like to open up new stages and build new rooms for artists and uncover and unlock new ways of embracing the arts. And we make the arts competitive. That's amazing. We want to bring the arts back to the Olympics. You could win a gold medal in the games from 1912 to 1948. Like, let's bring it back. Let's figure out different ways to, bring people into spaces to discover artists and talent. And Like that all goes back to like ask questions, think differently, remain curious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always say this just about myself, like, because I'm obviously, given the nature of my work and my career, most people would assume, you know, total right-brained, thinker,
You're not.
analytical. Yeah, I definitely those things. But I always say that I've got this, like, I feel like I'm a creative person that doesn't know how to create anything, right?
Yeah.
Meaning, like, can't sing a song, can't play an instrument, can't draw a picture,
Yeah.
can't do any of those things. But what I can do is see things
Yeah.
in my head before they happen,
Yep.
right? Like, and I always liken it as like the best way I can describe it is like an architect if they had to draw the existing conditions of a home
Spot on.
kind of thing,
Yep.
where you're like, I know there's got to be something behind that wall. And like you said about asking questions, but I have to annoy people like crazy.
Yeah.
But it's actually, if you think about third road management, like think about how many clients that we have,
Yeah.
it's all like, wait, how does that work? How does that work? How did you
Right.
get from here
Say
to
that
there?
again. Say that again.
Yeah,
real
say
quick.
that again.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then like once you put the pieces together and you're like, I got it.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's how you're
Then
that's
that's
how
like,
you're creative, right? So that is
exactly.
that's your I get asked in every room, like, oh, are you an artist? I'm like, I wish,
Yep.
but I'm not, but I'm going to do everything I can with what I know that I'm good at to help the arts move forward. And you're doing the same thing on the finance, small business side, small to mid-sized business. Like it's all like you're doing the same thing. You
Yeah.
just have to know what you're good at and then keep doubling down on it.
Yep. Um, awesome. Thank you for sort of
I will
getting
tell
us
you,
all the way
like
there.
going to Moscow in like 2017 or 2016 with Dr. Dre was unbelievable.
Well, you're making me
Like
like
it was,
extremely
if there was
jealous
like a
right now.
bucket list, it would be like the bucket list of the bucket list. Like it was,
Yeah.
we'll talk
I am
offline about it.
I
Yeah,
am a big original fan of West Coast rap.
there it is.
And Dr. Dre
Yeah,
is I can't even
he's
imagine.
absolutely lovely to work with.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, by all means, I've seen some of the documentaries and
yeah.
stuff like that, the Defiant ones
Oh my God. Yeah.
about him and
I mean, that
Jimmy
was our life.
starting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, amazing
But
story.
it was like that was grad school, and it was
Yeah,
like watching a brand go from 0 to 1 billion to 3 billion without running a commercial. They had
yeah,
no ads above the line. It was all word of mouth. It was all experiential marketing. It was talent and influencers and celebrities wearing headphones in the front row of Heat game. Like it was hand to hand. It was LeBron gifting Team USA. Like that was how they marketed to a multi-billion-dollar company from zero. I mean, it was being on that journey with them was incredible.
man, we're gonna have to have a separate episode for that one. Um,
Sponsored by, yeah,
Sponsored, yeah.
yeah,
Give him a call.
yeah,
See if he'd like to
right,
sponsor a podcast
right.
in the greater Chicagoland area.
Love it.
All right, so we got all the way up on your journey to Secret
Yeah,
Walls, and your passion for it is obvious. Um, it's also probably a place that people don't, unless they've experienced it directly,
mhm.
right, and they've seen it happen. They may not know exactly what it is. So tell me about, what does Secret Walls do,
Yep.
right? And then how does it relate to as a business,
Yeah,
right? Like how do you turn what it is into a business, right?
yeah. It's like me trying to tell my parents what I do for a living. It's fast. You're going where to do what? uh, but so Secret Walls is an 18-year-old startup. It was formed in 2006 by a gentleman, my partner named Terry Guy, streets of London, Shoreditch, when Terry was at an MC battle in the basement of a pub with some artists, contemporary artists, graffiti writers, muralists, came up street level and said, like, let's do that for the arts. Like this was pre-Banksy, before Exit Through the Gift Shop, before all of that.
Yep.
And it was like meant to be a one-off party, like an art battle, fight club with canvas and paint and like that's it. Like we're gonna move some tickets and then we'll move on to like the next thing. And before Terry knew it, they're on tour through Europe and Asia. And really just what was meant to be this like one night of the arts in a new and unique way in this like live competitive 90-minute running clock, blank canvases, DJ, MC, 90 minutes because that's how long a soccer match is. He just kind of made it up on the fly and it's stuck now 18 years later. um, turned into this universe that artists needed and wanted. Like they were, at the time, it was under the cover of darkness, highly criminalized. They couldn't, it was just underground.
Yep.
And so Secret Walls ran underground for quite some time. It was not a very well known by all, all sort of ways of marketing a property like that would kind of warrant, because you didn't know what it was. Like when I discovered it, I wasn't invited to it. It was just very underground. And built it into this universe where artists can build community and find not only like collectors and fans, but like one another, like figure out how to, exchange tricks and build crews and all of that stuff. So what was meant to be this like party turned into this community of artists that I don't think Terry had any idea he was building at the time. So then over the course of the years, what was like this battle IP, fill 1,000 people in a warehouse, turn on the countdown clock, throw artists on a blank stage, no sketching, black paint only, white canvas, has turned into, that being the front door of our universe. And so people know us for this like battle universe, but then when you come into the world of Secret Walls, there's Secret Walls Academy, which is, curriculum based, next generation focus, really trying to make room and space for continuing arts education, which kind of post pandemic lost a ton of funding and access points and just isn't anywhere. And not that we're the be all end all, we just want to play our role. So what Academy stands for is aspiring artists, largely are, high school, college age, but a lot that discover they want to be an artist later in life and have a space to come and create. So we host a lot of sessions in LA at our HQ and then all over the country as well. We've got Secret Walls X, which is like agency-led services where, we've got 4,000 artists in a database from Jakarta to LA that we program with, battle with, collab with. And part of like when I came in a couple of years ago, it's, well, let's do more of that. There had been projects along the years where, Secret Walls would serve as like an agency, but we're doing more of it now and kind of organized in a really nice way to insert relationships with brand partners and organize new marketing campaigns. And then we've got this kind of bunker in LA. Our HQ is this always on universe of programming. We host, battles there, art programming, comedy shows, concerts, all sorts of stuff. We got about 13,000 square feet in Koreatown, Harvard Heights in LA, and kind of really organized, beyond just what we became known for, which were these battles, into, always on multiple access point, art universe to program and create within.
Um, really fascinating. You know what I mean?
It's been fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like it's just
very
like,
unique.
yes.
Very, yeah.
So how much like when you said originally when you went on tour, was
Yeah.
it like sort of the same group of artists that, got on a bus and went from town to town kind of thing?
So
Or was it?
the first thing we did when like the very first kind of fresh new program that we put into the market in 2022 when I joined was Support Your Local Artists Tour.
Okay.
So we went on a bus with a core team, 25 markets over 60 days. I mean, it was insanity. But what we needed to do was like get back out on the road because we're a live art entertainment property and
Yep.
couldn't entertain for 2 years. So we had to like really show a commitment to the arts in the space. Every stop along the way was local artists, local DJs. We toured with our host and our core production team, but every stop along the way was uncovering talent in cities across North America. I mean, everywhere from Fort Wayne, Indiana, to Salt Lake City, Utah, to Madison, Wisconsin, to Vancouver, and Toronto, and Portland, and Seattle. I mean, we went everywhere. And the goal is for Secret Walls to help uncover who's next or who should be more well known or at least be part of, the evolution of an artist's journey. We're going back out on the road this fall. Less markets, but more time in each market. So we're touring Secret Walls Academy along with the battles. We're doing some, VIP elevated dinners and artist moments and we've got some great brand partners on the road with us as well. But the goal is always to build stages, turn on lights, and support local talent.
Yeah.
Like that's what we do.
And it all fits together, right? Because if you're doing the battles and so you're presumably getting the location to do it,
Yep.
right? You're securing, you're selling tickets, it's an event,
There's merch, there's tickets, there's sponsors.
It's a moving event. It's
Yep.
a moving event, right? But then those same artists, like you said, in terms of, being an agency for different people to get in touch with these artists, that's really powerful. And I mean, I imagine that an application of that would be like if you see like a beautiful mural on the side of a new building, or maybe an older building or something like that.
Out of home, hand painted out of home. It could be ad campaigns where we're kind of front and center, bridging talent into big brand moments, or TV campaigns.
Yep.
It'll be like merch drops or collaborations with big brand partners, a couple of which we'll be dropping this fall. So you kind of name it, like where we show up well. And I think part of my background as well is where it becomes helpful is like I can speak agency language.
Yes.
And I can bridge the gap comfortably between the brand partner and the artists, and find a really organized way forward for everybody. Because there's IP involved. Yep. How long is it going to be in market? How long is it going to run? You're taking my characters and we're bringing them into this brand world, and we protect both sides as much as we can in striking a deal and making sure everyone's compensated properly.
Yep.
And that the IP is used in market properly as well. So that's the whole kind of agency world of what we do.
Yep. Yeah, really fascinating. So I guess in your time there, what have you seen in terms of the trajectory and, where is it going?
Yeah.
And, like how big of an idea do you think this is? And
I mean, hopefully it's a massive idea, because I jumped out over from we just I kind of cashed. I went all in on this. I've been bullish on where this could go for quite some time, and I think I'm even more confident now than I was 13 years ago when I first went to a battle. The evolution of vandalism to beautification, like the same properties and building owners and brands were fining you and writing you tickets, and now they're paying these same artists to come beautify neighborhoods. You watch kind of the push into all of this niche experiential programming, or the evolution of competitive whatever it is. I don't know if you throw on ESPN on the weekend, but there's like world tag championships, and there's slap fights, and there's all sorts of like different ways of experiencing competition. And I think what we do, and the energy in our rooms lives inside that category of like unique, highly sought after. We have a huge Gen X, Gen Alpha following, and this kind of Gen Z, I should say, really push into our world. Like we sit inside this pay-per-view. It's like hip hop meets street art meets MMA kind of UFC universe, and so we're seeing a very young crowd come to a lot of our programs as well. So, every time we put something new into the market, we become a lot more confident of what the opportunity is and how big we can scale this, and the size of the arenas that we can play, or the different, what this looks like as a television show. What does this look like as a video game? What, like all of the things that you could absolutely see being sticky and landing in the marketplace leads us to confidently keep dreaming big.
And to the battle specifically, this thought just occurred to me. Is there like a panel of judges that ultimately say who wins and loses?
Depends on what room we're in. The typical structure when it's like more of an exhibition battle is that we'll have 2 guest judges and a crowd vote. And those guest judges could be range in fame. So we've had massive names that have popped on stage. We've had local curators pop on stage, and a decibel reader that goes to the crowd vote. There's been a lot more organized versions of it. We've got the scoring system, and there's all sorts of, like, when we get into rooms like that where it's very competitive and it's it's got more of a UFC feel to it, we need to make sure it's organized, and winners are chosen accordingly, and that the judges understand. It's like the Olympics, right? Like, and art's so subjective, like it's tricky, and so you got to really balance what we're doing in each room, and making sure that either we're celebrating the arts in general, or there's going to be a winner that's going to win a prize, and like what does that look like, and how is it being judged and critiqued?
Very, very
It's unique,
enlightening.
man. A little different, right?
I mean, but it's at the same point in time, it's brilliant. I mean, like
Yeah,
when you talk about, that other stuff like competitive tag
all of it. It's everywhere. There's a
and
hide and seek. There's like hide and
yeah,
seek championships out
yeah,
there. It
absolutely.
blows my mind.
Yeah.
Uh,
But I mean, if I came across this on the TV, right, and it was, DJ and
yeah,
great artists like going at one another, and it was on the timer, and
yeah.
like that, like for some reason when you were saying that, I was thinking of like Iron Chef America.
I mean, I say a lot. It's like being at the chef's table of your favorite restaurant.
Yeah.
When like rarely you get the plate when you're eating at that restaurant normally, or with the art, it's in a gallery or you watch a video of it.
Yep.
When you're like smelling the paint and
Yep.
watching your favorite artist freestyle and watching it just spill out onto a canvas and knowing that that's a one of one
Yep.
is beautiful. And it's not any dissimilar to that universe. And that kind of that fight, that competitive Iron Chef, that whole world is exactly,
Yeah.
what draws people to it.
Very neat. Well, and I mean, even in all that description and, even the vocabulary that you were using, like you're definitely demonstrating like marketing expertise,
Mm.
right? That comes with, your background and all your career experiences and all that kind of thing. Um, you know, th- what you're doing is a very niche market, right?
Yeah.
And I think that what you're talking about and your expertise on the marketing side really applies to any business in terms of like, how are you communicating to the audience that you're trying to target, right? And I think if you took a cross section of the types of businesses that we interact with
Yeah.
regularly, and you said, who's your target market? They would probably be like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Whoever will, pay their bill,
Right.
kind of thing.
Right.
But you come from this, you have this opposite lens of like targeted approach, marketing expertise. This works in this industry, it doesn't work in that industry.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of curious, like if you were to interact with somebody that is running a 10, $20 million business and they're like, I need to find myself in terms of where I'm marketing, how I'm marketing, who I'm marketing to.
Yeah.
What would some of your sort of like words of wisdom and encouragement be?
I mean, we it's a loaded question because our storytelling goes, whether it's a brand partner that comes in and supports our universe, and I need to know like what success looks like for them and like how we're having an exchange. There are the ticket buyers and our fans, and those that have been diehard Secret Walls enthusiasts for almost 2 decades. There are the artists, and we got to communicate with the artists authentically and be really transparent about opportunities and why we're doing certain things and the opportunity for them as well. So there's a range of it. And I think the thread for all of it becomes, confidently explaining why we're having all three of these conversations. And for us, when we talk about like Sila, support your local artists, like what do we do really well and why would any one of these categories of interactions want to come program with us, buy a ticket from us, sponsor what we do? And we always land on like we tell local stories better than anyone in the world. Like we can narrow in through the arts because and so like that's our center of gravity. And like we then take that and we use it as our marketing approach because it is consistent. We're not speaking, because some of that feels like cliched language and like, oh man, like I can see through that. Like, no, like we actively support local, we program local, we put on for main streets all over the world whenever we can. And so using that as the way in to like find your tribe, to ensure that you're working with the right people and that they understand like what you stand for is all I think that matters for us. I think I'm answering it correctly, but that's really when we go out to like figure out how we're marketing and staying consistent with that. Because what you don't want to do is like we're selling a story to the brand partners and then we're selling a different story over here.
Right.
And then you're like, what did we just say? Like just
I think I've heard it
small
described. Like I've listened to some podcasts with like people in like Hollywood and stuff like that, and they're talking about directors interacting with actors, and like there's times where they're like, no, you're in the wrong movie.
Right. Right. Exactly.
They're like, this isn't that movie. You
Right.
need to, this is where I need you to go in terms of like coaching him, right?
Yeah.
But if there's not a common thread through an organization in terms of its messaging,
Right.
you're going to miss the mark.
Why are you doing, like, what is the build your campfire? Why do you do what you do? And then invite everyone around it. And
Yeah.
I think that gets missed sometimes. And you try to find the words you think they want you to say versus just being confident in what you do every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. I love the campfire reference, by the way.
There you go.
I'm sure that's something that
So many
you're not the
campfires.
first
Yeah.
person that's brought
Right.
that analogy to the table, but meaning you've heard it from somewhere else, but that's the first time I've heard it.
That's a good one. Yeah.
like it.
I mean, you know the feeling of that campfire, right? Yeah.
I'm gonna claim it as my own next time I say it. All right. So along this way, no entrepreneurial journey is ever up and to the right.
Yeah.
Right. It's you hit bumps and bruises along the way, and I candidly think that like people often think that entrepreneurs are brave because they took the first step to become an entrepreneur. But I actually think it's having the fortitude to fight through
Yeah.
all the crap
Yeah.
that comes up as part of entrepreneurship. And I'm curious what your experience has been. And I can only imagine, given the uniqueness of Secret Walls,
Yeah.
that you've had to fight through a lot of barriers. But
Oh,
like,
sure.
what are some of the barriers that you've experienced on your journey so far? And then, kind of what have you done to go through them?
I don't know how, like I said at the jump, like I mean, I'd probably say it to Terry, founder, once a quarter, twice a quarter. I'm like, I don't know how you've done this for 18 years.
Yeah.
The Ryan Kunkles of the world, like folks I know that have been like front lines doing this type of work for that long. It's unbelievable.
Yep.
Like the highest of highs, lowest of lows.
Yep.
And to like try to take an art property and turn it into like a global business that has recurring revenue and is organized and can
Yep.
forecast out 3 years and like can do all of the things that you need it to do to grow has been highly challenging.
Yep.
I mean, it's the hardest work I've done in my career, and I couldn't be happier doing it. Like I've said it a few times now, but like it like reawakened all of my senses, all of them. And I know that it's going to be hard and it's going to get harder, but gosh darn, like the good days are amazing.
Yep.
They're amazing. And when you stack a few of those together and you're like, this is working.
Yeah.
Then, when you do hit a bump, you're like, first year was really hard.
Yeah.
2022, my first year doing this was like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Well, and you're so close to coming out of the pandemic at that
Oh my
point in
God.
time that just getting people to do anything it was difficult enough to do. Yeah.
So it was a fascinating year. But it's like, just short-term memory on both sides of it. Like, don't overthink the wins, don't overthink the losses, and just kind of keep moving a day at a time. Like we're so close to like big moments of celebration, I think, in the next 3 to 5 years. And, we're bullish about the World Cup coming to the States. We're bullish about the Olympics coming to the States. There's all sorts of energy happening in the culture and sport and entertainment world that we sit, so beautifully in that you can't help but get excited. But, short-term memory is what I've learned of like quickly, like don't over celebrate anything and don't, over stew anything either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
It's unreal.
It's unbelievable. Well, and I would, so I feel like not only are there always continued things, hurdles that you have to get over, but what I've found with us is that the hurdles that you went over from, 0 to 3 are different than the hurdles that you're trying to get over from 4 to 6 and 7 to 9 or whatever. And so it just never stops.
Never ends. Yeah.
It's kind of like I would liken it to like my kids growing up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where when they were between 0 and 2, you were just basically trying to make sure they didn't fall down stairs and
Yeah.
stick their fingers in electrical outlets and whatever. And now that, I've got, kids throughout the spectrum there of, a middle schooler, a couple of high schoolers, one's getting ready to go to college, it's just like, it's never easy.
Right.
It's just different problems that you're facing.
Yeah.
And if you don't have it in you to embrace the moments where things aren't comfortable,
yeah,
I don't think you can be an entrepreneur. I just genuinely don't.
They're gut-wrenching sometimes.
Yeah. Maybe a solopreneur and
Yeah.
you just choose what you want,
Right.
but like,
Way different.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just, you got to grind through it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm spot on.
So what does the team look like now? You mentioned the founder,
Terry,
you're CEO, right?
I'm CEO,
Okay.
based here in Chicago. We actually just added to the team here in Chicago for the first time, which is great. We're going to grow more here and look at some venues that we may open in Chicago.
Nice.
And then we've got our core teams in LA. Creative production, Terry, our founder, is out there. We manage our HQ out there as well. So it's a small team core, but like agency mentality. I mean, we balloon up to, whatever we need to solve a project or to fulfill an obligation. So we can be a 6-person team day to day or a 30-person team week to week, depending on what's in front of us.
Yep.
And, when we go out on tour, we get bigger and all of that stuff. So we've got a great network of producers and creatives and technical expertise that get us through it, which is nice.
Yeah. Now, if someone was tuning in that was interested in working with Secret Walls, right? Like whether they're an artist or maybe they're somebody connected to a city or something like that around the country, or maybe a venue somewhere, like how does that work? Do they just kind of look you guys up, or?
Yeah, I mean, secretwalls.world is our website. There's an artist registration form there. Like we get, I don't know how many new portfolios a week from all over the world that submit, say, I'd love to battle. Please come to my town. I would love to collab with you. So that's great. That's always on. We're obviously super active on socials. So at Secret Walls across all of, the different social media platforms. We're all over LinkedIn. We're active there as well. So you can reach out to me direct. But I mean, we get a ton inbound from brand partners, from cities, from artists that are looking for collabs or opportunities to program together, which is great.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate, you sharing your journey, sharing more about, what you guys are up to at Secret Walls. And I think it's really interesting. I think that people,
it's got to be the most like specific.
It's
VOD.
Yeah.
Here,
I mean, it's definitely a lot more interesting than
Here's the bearded guy in the neighborhood. Let's finally figure out his story.
Right. But no, I think it's fascinating. I think it is. I mean, I get it. Next time you guys do one in Chicago.
We're in Chicago on November 2nd. I don't know when this launches, but
okay.
We'll be at Maria's Packaged Goods in Bridgeport on tour. It'll be awesome.
Perhaps I will find my way in there.
Let's go. Yeah.
I would love to see it. And I think that there are so many different applications, and so I believe in you and your team and what you guys are doing. And before I let you go, though, we do have a couple of questions that we ask people just for fun.
Sweet.
There's no right or wrong answers, and you can make derivatives off these. But the first one is, what are the top 3 rock and roll bands of all time?
Rock and roll? I gotta stay in the rock and roll.
You don't have to stay. I did have somebody once asked to go outside the rock and roll lane.
I mean, can Beastie Boys can they show up? Like they cross enough, right?
They qualify in,
Beastie
in all
Boys
categories
is in there.
for me.
Beastie Boys are in there.
Yep.
Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers would be in there as well. Love Aerosmith. Like I could throw Aerosmith on for a long. I'll go with those 3.
Those 3. Okay. All right.
Beastie Boys is a jam though.
Beastie Boy. We could tell some stories there. First time I saw them was Lollapalooza.
There you go. Yeah. It's a great live show.
Must have been 1994. They were I think the headliner was Smashing Pumpkins. And they were the next one. They were the next one, yeah. Great time to be alive. All right, annual holiday. Which one's the best one?
I got
And
married. I got
you and
married on Halloween. Yeah,
Halloween?
I got married. I
Okay.
got married on Halloween. So it's always been Halloween. We throw a party here. That's my jam.
That is your jam.
Yeah.
All right. So what's underneath there? Like why Halloween?
I don't know. Time of year.
Yep.
Just it's just about having fun a little bit.
Yep.
Young or old. There's no the expectations that show up later in November
Yep.
and later in December, or like I don't know. It's just a good vibe. I love the weather this time of year in the
Yep.
Midwest. All of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Big into costumes.
We'll
Are you?
we'll throw a costume on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some people that like all
Go for
year they're just
Well, on our wedding night, so 2009, 15th wedding anniversary, Margot, happy anniversary, whenever this comes up.
yes.
Was like daylight savings was that night as well.
Oh,
we were at why am I blanking on it? University Club
Okay.
downtown. And when the photographer left at like 11 o'clock, everyone got into costume. Like it went sideways real fast. It was amazing. And then you picked up the extra hour, and like we kept the band on. I mean, it was carnage. It was amazing. Yeah.
All right.
So like Halloween's kind of stuck in the
Yeah. Well, you didn't flinch when I asked the
No,
question.
it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer.
So yeah, you've got that one in the can ready to go.
Yeah.
All right, I always like this one. If you weren't doing what you're currently doing for work, what is a completely unrelated career that you can see yourself enjoying and thriving in?
I think I'd be a really good teacher.
Oh,
I think I would I love I'm getting into coaching now. I've got 4 kids, 13, 8, 7, and 4. We just got a new puppy, whole thing. But I'm like getting into all their sports, and I'm loving it. And I love kind of coaching youth, and I feel like that would translate to a classroom on some level as well.
I think you would definitely check the box of the cool teacher
Like it would be,
category. You got the right like disposition for it.
Come on. Let's
Well, now you're going to start a second career.
Yeah, I think,
go back get your teaching certificate.
maybe at some point I'll trip my way into a classroom.
Yeah, that was definitely on my list at one point in time.
I always feel fascinated by the guys and women in professional world that like adjunct professor at Northwestern, and like I've always thought like that looks very cool. Or Loyola, or like one of the local universities of like going and teaching a special class. I think would be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There may be somebody local that you should talk to. A friend of ours has started teaching at the Art Institute of Chicago.
Really?
Yeah. That we'll have to pick that one up.
Can't wait. Let's do it. Yeah.
Well, anyway, Kevin, thank you for being here. This is
man.
Fascinating. I think
Thanks
it's
for
been a
having
great
me.
gift for the crew and everybody listening in or watching. And I look forward to seeing you guys continue to thrive.
Awesome, man.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.